Hey, this is Jack, and this video is about the things that a man might do if he wants a relationship with you. Now, I'm going to give you 4 things, and before I get into them, I want to just give you a little caveat, which is to say, any particular type of thing that I might invite you to notice is just helping you build a picture of what might be going on. None of this is going to be as powerful as your own guidance and intuition if you can access it. So all of this is to support you in actually getting closer to your own guidance and intuition. There is no substitute for that. I've coached a lot of people who watch dating and relationship advice on YouTube and say, oh, but he did this and he did this thing that this guy who's a dating coach said he might do. And what I hear is someone who's disconnected from their own intuition. And you can't really afford to do that in the dating game, because your intuition, especially as a woman, can be so powerful and so dialed in to what is actually going on. And the reason that you don't listen to that is normally because you got up in your head and you're overthinking things, or there's a way that you've stopped really trusting yourself and your deeper impulses and kind of the deeper information and guidance that you can provide to yourself. So with all that caveated up front, here are 4 things that he might do if he wants a relationship with you. The first thing is that he invites you into multiple domains of his life. And what that means is he invites you to be with him in the different contexts in his life that are important to him. So for example, it might mean that he invites you to be part of his home life, right? That maybe you have some dates with him at his home. He might invite you to be part of his work life. Maybe, he's got a big presentation and he invites you to it, or he invites you to meet some work colleagues after work for some drinks, or he engages with you about his work and what he's up to and what's important to him, and it invites you into it in some kind of meaningful way. Perhaps he has you meet his family. Perhaps he invites you to meet more than one of his friends. Perhaps he wants to travel with you. Perhaps you're the person that gets the invite when there's some special occasion. Maybe someone's getting married, or there's a cocktail party and you're the person that he's inviting. So said differently, just to reverse this, if you think of what the caveat of this would be, is if a guy is only inviting you into one domain of his life, or you have one date that's the same kind of date that you have, right? It could be a Netflix and chill date, it could be a hot hookup date, it could be you go out to a restaurant date. But if that's the main way that you're dating, I would start to be curious about whether this guy actually wants a long-term relationship or a committed relationship with you. And again, none of this is about making him wrong. It's all about you tuning into what do you want, and is it actually available from the guy that's in front of you. One mini caveat I'll throw in here is that some guys, particularly if they have a strong social instinct, they may introduce you to their family early, and in their world, it might not have that much consequence. It might just be like the sort of friend aspect of your relationship, like, oh, I like to introduce my friends, I like to introduce my family to people. So what you might want to do if you get an invitation to meet his family is ask him the question, what does this mean to you? What's the significance of this? And again, if possible, slow it down and listen as objectively as you can. Listen to what he's actually saying. Listen also to your intuition about what he's saying. If he's telling you that it's no big deal that you're meeting his family, it might well be no big deal that you're meeting his family. Some other guy, if he brings you home, maybe if he's from a more traditional conservative background and he's bringing you home to meet mom and dad, that might really mean something. So again, no presumptions here. Ask the right questions and you'll get the right answers for you. Okay, the second way that a man might orient you if he's really interested in a relationship is that he's consistent in his contact with you for a period of 3 months or more. And by consistent, I would mean that you are connecting at least 2 or 3 times a week meaningfully, right? Which might be in person, or if it's not easy to be in person, it could be a call or a video call, but something where you're in real time together, where you're real time relating, and where the quality of connection is substantive. And the period of 3 months is that, some guys are able to do this when they're in the pursuit, right? Where they want to attract you, where they maybe want to be romantic, physical, or sexual with you. And sometimes you have to take that period out long enough in order to know, is this a really genuine and ongoing connection? And if it's not that, again, I'm not making that wrong. Not every connection is meant to be a long-term connection. There are certain types that interact between men and women that has it be really intense quickly and then fizzle just as quickly. And it's hard for people to predict that, particularly if you've not done any work about understanding how different types interact with one another. So this is why slowing it down and noticing consistency over a long period of time is your way of sort of protecting yourself against the burn bright and burn fast and then not come to anything kind of connection with a man. You can always enjoy those kinds of connections with a man, right? Those sort of hot romances, that absolutely go and have that. Just don't try and make it something that it's ultimately not likely to be. Okay, so the third thing is that he stays connected to you after sex. If you have moved into a physical sexual relationship, notice what happens after you're sexual. Notice whether he wants to make another date, whether he wants to text with you, whether he wants to give you a call the day after. And one of the reasons I'm suggesting this is because there can be a pattern where if you have a strong sexual attraction with someone, sometimes that kind of intensity can build, and then when you are actually sexual once or twice, after that, it's kind of like there's less interest from his side. And I know that can be really hard to be on the receiving end of. And I'm not here to kind of condone male hookup culture or anything like that, but just to say sometimes it can be difficult to discern when there is that level of attraction running in anyone's system, that until you've kind of gone into that space, you might not actually know what you're available for afterwards. And I think that's just one of the unfortunate things about this space, where maybe one person wants more and one person wants less. And it's not always that the guy wants more, it's not always that you as a woman want more and the guy wants less. It can be either way around. But this is a propensity that I see that hurts people in relationship, where what they thought that meant or what they thought that might lead to is actually different to what it does mean and what it does lead to. So rather than maybe wish it were different, I would say take your time, honor yourself, honor your boundaries. Don't imagine that something means something unless you really, really are clear that it does. And then pay attention to the connection in the space afterwards, because it might reveal if he's sexual with you and then is immediately always pulling back, that is good information for you. That is really good information for you to notice, maybe this isn't about us having a long-term committed connection. Maybe that's not really the energetic exchange here. That's not really what mutually this space is available for. And you're going to want to pay attention to that rather than be kind of on the receiving end of it. And then the fourth thing that you want to pay attention to is how much is he leading the conversation about where the relationship is going? How much is he initiating that conversation? How much is he receptive to that conversation? How much is he leading that conversation, not even by having a conversation, but merely by dint of how he's showing up in the relationship, how he's making plans, how he's initiating plans, how he's maybe booking things with you in the future, how he's introducing you, as we talked about in point 1, to these different domains of his life. Like, is this guy showing up? Is this guy wanting to have you in his life? Is this guy wanting to reveal himself to you, be in his heart with you, be emotionally connected to you? What is going on here? And again, I've coached a lot of women, and I know that when this isn't happening, one of the things you might want to do is ask yourself, you're like, well, how could I inspire this to happen? How can I make him want to commit? How can I make him want to see me more? And I think that is mostly the wrong way around. Why? Because most of the women that I've worked with actually want a guy who initiates. They want a guy who leads the relationship. That doesn't mean to say that you can't also be leading in the relationship, but there's this sort of sense that he's got it. He's got a direction and a leadership and a vision for the relationship. And rather than try and inspire that or cajole that in him, I would say take a step back, notice if he can step into that space. Right? It might be that you've been a little bit in your masculine, and if you step back, actually, he brings more of his masculine online. That's completely possible. But if that isn't happening, again, don't wish it were different. Maybe just notice that that's not what this guy is available for. Now, it could be that he's not available for this in this cycle. I've had plenty of conversations with women where they've taken a step back, and then in another season or cycle, the guy's initiated, and then he's in that energy, right? Maybe he was coming out of a heavy relationship and wasn't available for that immediately. Maybe he was in a stage of his masculine development where what he really wanted was companionship and not partnership. So the more commitment and showing upness that partnership needs, he just wasn't available for that a year ago, but now he is. Much better to do it that way than to try and manipulate or do something that has him show up more, because you'll never get that initial kind of first responsive initiatory energy that is what you're actually looking for him. All right, well, thanks for being with me. These are the 4 ways for you to notice if a man might want a relationship with you. I'd love to know your experience. Questions and comments welcome as always. Put them below the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I'm releasing new videos every week on personal growth and love and relationships. And again, thanks for being with me. I'm Jack.